After the age of 60, the body changes in ways most people never fully expect. Energy becomes less predictable. Digestion slows down. Muscles weaken more easily. Recovery takes longer. And many adults suddenly begin feeling older almost overnight. What makes this confusing is that many people believe they're eating healthier than ever. They cut sugar, avoid desserts, reduce snacks, start eating lighter meals. And somewhere along the way, many older adults begin avoiding fruit too. Some stop because they fear sugar. Some because of diabetes concerns. Some because low-carb trends convince them fruit is dangerous. And others simply lose interest in fresh foods altogether. But here's the hidden truth most people never hear. After 60, completely removing fruit from your diet may affect the body far more deeply than most realise. Not immediately, but slowly, quietly. And over time, the effects can begin showing up in energy, digestion, inflammation, immunity, circulation, and even the aging process itself. Because fruit is not just natural sugar, it's one of the body's oldest biological support systems. And after 60, the body often needs that support more than ever. But there's also an important nuance most people completely miss. Not all fruit affects the body the same way. Not all portions are healthy. And there's one major mistake older adults make with fruit that can quietly worsen blood sugar and weight gain. We'll come back to that shortly. Because first, we need to understand why the aging body becomes so sensitive after 60 in the first place. After 60, the body enters a very different metabolic stage. Muscle mass naturally declines faster. Inflammation tends to increase. Digestion becomes less efficient. Hydration levels become harder to maintain. And the body becomes more vulnerable to nutrient deficiencies. This is one reason many older adults suddenly experience fatigue, constipation, slower healing, brain fog, dry skin, weakness, higher blood pressure, and low energy. And often these symptoms seem unrelated, but many are connected by one hidden issue. The body is no longer getting enough protective compounds to repair daily stress and inflammation. That's where fruit becomes incredibly important. Because fruits contain vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, water, fiber, and plant compounds that help support systems that naturally weaken with age. And when those nutrients disappear completely, the body notices, slowly at first, then more dramatically over time. One of the first things many adults notice after cutting out fruit is digestive changes. Constipation becomes more common. Bloating increases. The stomach feels heavier. Energy after meals feels lower. This happens because fiber plays a major role in digestive health, and many fruits provide a type of fiber that supports beneficial gut bacteria. What most people don't realize is that the gut changes significantly with age. The microbiome becomes less diverse. Digestion slows. The intestinal system becomes more sensitive. And when fiber intake drops too low, the digestive system often struggles. This matters far more than people think, because the gut affects almost everything. Inflammation, immune function, mood, blood sugar, energy levels, even brain health. In many ways, your gut acts like an internal communication center for the entire body. And after 60, maintaining that system becomes extremely important. Now here's where things become even more interesting. Many people stop eating fruit because they fear sugar. And yes, the fruit does contain natural sugar. But whole fruit behaves very differently inside the body than processed sugar. That distinction changes everything. Processed sugar enters the bloodstream rapidly. It lacks fiber. It creates sharp spikes and crashes. Whole fruit contains water, fiber, nutrients, and plant compounds that slow digestion and change how the body responds. In fact, many fruits have surprisingly moderate effects on blood sugar when eaten properly, especially berries, apples, pears, citrus fruits, and kiwi. But unfortunately, fear-based health advice has convinced many older adults that all sugar is dangerous, so they eliminate fruit entirely. And over time, the body may begin missing critical nutrients it relies on for healthy aging. Vitamin C is one major example.
Many people associate vitamin C only with immunity, but it also supports skin repair, blood vessels, collagen production, wound healing, and antioxidant protection. After 60 and some, oxidative stress increases naturally. This means the body experiences more cellular wear and tear, and antioxidants help protect against some of that damage. This is why diets rich in fruits and vegetables are consistently associated with healthier aging populations around the world, not because fruit is magical, but because it helps support systems constantly under pressure from aging itself. Now let's talk about energy, because one of the most frustrating parts of aging is unexplained fatigue. Many older adults wake up tired, feel exhausted after meals, lose motivation to move, and assume it's simply normal aging. But often, the body is struggling with poor nutrient intake, dehydration, inflammation, muscle loss, and unstable blood sugar. Fruit can help support several of these systems simultaneously. The natural carbohydrates in fruit provide usable energy, the water supports hydration, the potassium supports circulation and blood pressure, and the antioxidants may help reduce inflammatory stress. This is one reason many people notice improved energy and mental clarity when they consistently eat balanced amounts of fruit. Not hyperenergy, stable energy, and stable energy becomes incredibly valuable after 60, because the aging body does not tolerate constant metabolic stress very well. Now here's another hidden issue people rarely talk about: hydration. As people age, thirst signals become weaker. Many older adults walk around mildly dehydrated without realizing it. This contributes to fatigue, dizziness, constipation, headaches, brain fog, and dry skin. And fruits naturally contain both water and electrolytes, especially fruits like watermelon, oranges, berries, peaches, and grapefruit. Removing those foods completely may unintentionally reduce hydration quality throughout the day. Now, there's another major area where fruit may matter more than people realize: the brain. After 60, the brain becomes increasingly sensitive to inflammation and circulation problems. People begin noticing forgetfulness, slower recall, difficulty concentrating, mental fatigue. And while aging itself plays a role, chronic inflammation and poor vascular health often accelerate cognitive decline. Many fruits contain compounds called flavonoids and polyphenols. These plant compounds are being heavily studied for their relationship to brain health and healthy aging, especially berries. Researchers are increasingly interested in how certain foods may help protect blood vessels and reduce inflammatory stress affecting the brain. Again, no food stops aging, but nutrition can influence how gracefully the body ages over time. And perhaps the biggest misunderstanding about healthy aging is this: people think decline happens suddenly. It usually doesn't. It happens slowly through thousands of repeated daily signals: poor sleep, low movement, processed foods, chronic stress, nutrient deficiencies, low fiber intake. Eventually, the body begins struggling to compensate. That's why small, consistent habits matter so much after 60, and fruit may be one of the simplest supportive habits available. But now we need to discuss the important warning most people ignore, because fruit can absolutely become unhealthy in certain situations, especially when consumed the wrong way. This is the mistake many older adults unknowingly make. They consume fruit in highly processed forms: fruit juices, sweetened smoothies, dried fruits with added sugar, large dessert-style fruit bowls. These forms often remove the natural balance that makes whole fruit beneficial. Juice, for example, removes much of the fiber and allows sugar to absorb rapidly. This creates blood sugar spikes that are very different from eating whole fruit. That distinction is critical. Whole fruit and processed fruit products are not metabolically identical, and portion size still matters, especially for adults with diabetes or insulin resistance. But completely avoiding fruit out of fear may create its own set of problems, because healthy aging requires nourishment, not just restriction. That's something many people over 60 slowly begin realizing. Extreme diets often create exhaustion. The body wants balance, support, stability, recovery, nutrition, not punishment. And perhaps this is why some of the healthiest aging populations in the world still regularly consume fruit. Not in massive quantities, not constantly, but consistently, as part of balanced meals and sustainable lifestyles. Now let's talk about inflammation, because this may be the hidden issue connecting almost every symptom older adults struggle with: joint stiffness, fatigue, heart disease, diabetes, cognitive decline, weight gain, poor circulation. Chronic inflammation quietly affects the entire body, and many fruits contain natural compounds that help the body manage oxidative stress and inflammatory load. This matters because after 60, recovery becomes slower. The body cannot bounce back from stress as easily as it once did. That's why supportive foods become increasingly important with age. Not because they create miracles, but because they reduce the burden the body is carrying. And when the body carries less burden, energy often returns, movement becomes easier, sleep improves, digestion stabilizes, mental clarity improves. Many older adults assume these changes are impossible after 60. But the body is constantly adapting to what you repeatedly give it. Every meal sends signals, every habit sends signals, and over time, those signals shape the aging process itself. Now here's something deeply important. Healthy aging is not about perfection. It's not about eating perfectly every day, or avoiding every bad food forever. It's about consistently supporting systems that naturally become more vulnerable with age, and fruit may help support several of those systems at once. The immune system, the gut, the heart, the brain, hydration, circulation, inflammation balance. That's why removing fruit entirely can sometimes create subtle problems people never connect back to nutrition. They simply feel older, faster, more tired, more sluggish, less resilient. And perhaps the most emotional part of all this is realizing the body after 60 is not broken. It's simply more sensitive, more responsive, more vulnerable, more dependent on recovery and nourishment. That changes how we should approach health completely. Not through fear, through support, through consistency, through realistic habits, through foods that help the body feel safer instead of more stressed. And whole fruit often fits naturally into that picture, especially when paired with balanced meals, protein, movement, hydration, and good sleep, because no single food determines your future, but repeated patterns do. And healthy aging is usually built through small daily decisions repeated for years, not dramatic short-term fixes. So if you've stopped eating fruit completely after 60, it may be worth asking an important question. Is your body truly benefiting from restriction? Or is it quietly missing support it desperately needs? Because in many cases, the goal isn't to fear food, it's to understand how the body actually works during aging. And once people understand that, something powerful often happens. Health becomes less confusing, less extreme, less frustrating, and finally sustainable, because the truth is, your body after 60 still wants to heal, still wants energy, still wants nourishment, still wants balance. And sometimes the smallest daily choices quietly influence that process more than we ever imagined. And in our next discussion, we may uncover another hidden truth about aging nutrition. Why one common breakfast habit after 60 may quietly increase inflammation, belly fat, and fatigue, even in people who believe they're eating healthy.